Hey friends, hey family, my name is Skylent, and I've played such a variety, a myriad of games that I'm having a lot of fun actually now promoting a lot of the hidden gems that a lot of people have looked over or maybe have moved past beyond, but maybe they're still worth, taking another look at. Coming back, maybe? So these are going to be games that no one plays. Free-to-play online action RPG. But don't worry, I know it's online action RPG, but these games are all fun. You could even play by yourself or just bring in a friend, maybe a party. Maybe we could actually pick one of these games and make it a part of our game book club that we do every month. That could be fun, but these are games that you can one and done. You know, you could just run through, warriors it up, just smash faces, or some of them you might actually find something really interesting and want to re-grind. Either way, if you like action RPGs, you like the grind, you do like a little bit of the repetition, a lot of these games are going to seem pretty familiar, but still, I think you feel the pull to jump in and give them a shot. And maybe you should. I bet you'll find at least one game in here that's worth playing, and in my opinion, for someone out there, all of these are. So let's have fun, let's start the run. Now, starting out the list, of course, the weakest game on here, and the one that's probably the most dubious, is going to be Mu Legend. Some people hate this game, and some people found something special about it and ran all the way through it. Mu Legend promoted itself as an MMO, but it's really not. It's actually an MMO light. It really focuses on dungeon gameplay. It's an action RPG that happens to be online, but there is sort of like a persistent, open-ish world area between the different dungeons, but there's a lot of different dungeons. Now, I haven't played all the way through this game or most of these titles, but Mu Legend so far seems to be pretty tried and true for ARPG formulas. If you do want to play with a little bit of an online sort of presence, something that maybe has a little bit easier of a flow in terms of like the introduction. It is a little bit casualized, but there are difficulty settings, and I did actually attempt some of the higher difficulties, and there is definitely some potencies there. Hopefully somebody who's actually gone to endgame can say that, yeah, it continues all the way to endgame. That'd be great. But overall, you know, it's not too different, not too vague, but there is, I think it's a good start for this list, and it at least beats out its direct competitors. And number 9, we have Dungeon Fighter Online. Free to play ARPG that no one plays. Actually, this game's incredibly popular. It's one of the most popular games on the planet. It's just not in America. It's not. If you actually look at the Steam player count, it's cute if you were to consider like it is a niche game, which I guess it is here. Beat 'em ups, things like that. No, that's huge in Korea, Japan, China, very influential. It has actually gone on to influence entire animes, and I know a lot of game designers for online action RPGs and MMORPGs have direct inspiration from this classic game, which has been re-released a few times, and I think its current incarnation is pretty well applauded, maybe, possibly. But Dungeon Fighter Online is a game that it's essentially a beat-em-up action RPG, side-scrolling, anime-inspired, obviously, but it is going to seem a little bit dated, which is why I haven't carried on through with making videos on it, really. Maybe I can return to it next year, which I plan to for many games, but Dungeon Fighter, I think, is a game that everyone should at least try once. It's similar in vein to like MapleStory or a couple of other classic games. Sometimes the harshness of the graphics and the datedness of some of the mechanics might completely stop you. I get it, but it's such a foundational game that you should probably try it. Even if it's not that popular today, jump in with a friend, you might have a good time. Okay, let's not hesitate. Let's get to number 8, and that's going to be Skyforge. Very polarizing depending on the type of player that you are. If you like ARPGs, then yeah, this is the game for you. But if you're coming from an MMO background, you might be a little bit deterred because this is just an MMO light, which at the same time, if you're an action RPG player, that might be kind of like it's just busy work for the most part. You're going to jump into this game. Not too many players are playing it. Obviously, it's making this list. But if you jump in with a friend, and I do suggest you play with a friend for this game specifically because of the style of game that it is. It's meant to be played as a party. It's meant to be played as people like jumping into dungeons together and clearing the content together. It's interesting with its aesthetics, kind of Star Wars-y, really more Final Fantasy with its mix of science and fantasy. But the classes overall seem like they're taken directly from archetypes. Like the Berserker has the spin to win ability, obviously, but the combat is more akin to something like Terra or Blade and Soul, where it's more stick and move versus just pressing one and spamming one button and killing hordes of enemies. I would also say that the core gameplay loop is really stick and move as well. Go kill like a little wave of enemies, go kill a little wave of enemies, go from the open world to a dungeon, go kill trash mobs to the boss monster, and then rinse and repeat, stick and move. Microscopically, mechanically, as well as macroscopically. It's a really good pace if you have a party, but again, I would have to say, avoid this if you play it solo. And next up, we have the only mobile game on the list, and that's Dragon Project. And don't close out yet, guys. You can actually play mobile games very easily on your PC with BlueStacks, not a sponsor. So you actually gacha for the monster that you're fighting. So like in Dauntless or something, there is often a roulette style to picking the monster, or you can just pick it directly. In this game, you have to gacha it, and then I believe afterwards, then you can actually acquire it and just, run that monster fight. But yeah, it's a Monster Hunter style game. You literally just spawn in an arena, and you fight it. Like, it's Souls-like or Monster Hunter style combat and gameplay. You level up, get different abilities, you gotta grind up your gear, stuff like that. And there's actual like teamwork. You have to pick up your teammates, you have to really worry about positioning, and I really appreciate this game. I thought for a mobile game, even if it was on PC, it's kind of a genius game. And yeah, the controls on mobile work extremely well. I had a really fun time. That's what I gotta say. Okay, I just wanted to talk about this game. For a Monster Hunter or boss in a box action RPG, this one doesn't get the attention that it deserved. Though, of course, now we have Honkai Impact, and now we have a Breath of the Wild action RPG on the way that have really good control schemes. But this one kind of was one of the first. Okay. And now let's talk about Closers Online, a game that I have very, very little experience with. Side-scrolling action RPGs or MMOs is pretty rare for me to actually pursue. Like, you have L-Sword and the first MapleStory. I actually talk a lot about a game called Starbreak, which really could be on this list as well, but I'm going to throw Closers Online because I think this is a game that is actually a little bit more popular and potentially, I think, more in line with what you guys are looking for on this list. But if you guys want to, I've already actually talked about Starbreak a lot, but that is a game that I do promote a lot. You should, and MapleStory is actually really popular. Nothing wrong with that, but this is a list for games no one plays. So, Closers Online. Probably another one of those games that's very popular in the East. In fact, I think all of these like anime and like these beat 'em up style games way more popular in the East. But this is a game that I often avoid because it is so often promoted as an MMO, and I just a real MMO is like Starbreak. That's a MMO style game. This fits better as an action RPG. Okay, anyways, lots of different characters, anime teens. It's literally teens. It's literally teens with powers, beating up aliens, beating up big monsters, in the flashiest, most ridiculous way possible. And I know there's a ton of other games like this that I could have put on here that I have played, but Closers Online is just the one that's kind of in my spotlight right now. I'm not trying to flood this list with a bunch of like extremely similar games. So yeah, if you guys want to mention any of the competitors in the comments below for any of these games, go ahead and do it. But yeah, halfway on the list, we have a MMO light called MapleStory II. Maybe, some people would be like, well, MapleStory 1's not as popular as it used to be. It's got a mobile port, it's still pretty freaking popular, and it's huge worldwide, and historically, its impact is obvious. MapleStory 2 definitely takes the limelight when it comes to games no one plays, because this is a game that should have been huge. But when you actually jump in, you think it's going to be something kind of like a cutesy minigame fiesta. It's got some minigame, it's got that sort of style of gameplay, but it's not, no, it's not quite that. Okay, well, maybe you jump in and you think, okay, it's gonna be like MapleStory, it's gonna be a huge grind fest, there's gonna be tons of monsters on the screen, tons of big cool combos. I don't know, it's really kind of sticky compared to other ARPGs, even this, really old side-scrolling games where you might sit in place and just do a big combo. It's got a little stick and move, kind of like Skyforge. Okay, well, maybe it's all about just being social and stuff like that. Well, no, it doesn't go full ham with that either. It's kind of like, it's got all these mechanics from kind of like a lot of different genres and slapped together, so very alienating for a lot of players, especially if you're coming into this looking for an ARPG, but it's so high up because it's really, really polished, and if you can appreciate all the different things that it offers and jump over the speed bumps that it has, like the story, normally something we applaud in a lot of games, you gotta sit through a good bit of it, and I think the questing is like, I don't know, it takes some time to get through the tutorial questing, like to level 50 or something, and then you get into the real grind, the real action RPG, and until then, it's really hyper casual and very silly. So, depending on the type of player that you are, and depending on who you want to play with, this is a very safe game to play with family or friends. Well, in online ARPGs, that is something that you should look forward to, so yeah, maybe give it a shot. Number 4, I have Drakensang Online. This is a game that I would often put like at the top of lists and things like that, and there's nothing wrong with that. But now that I am really respecting the fact that a game, you know, it's like if it's an online game, or especially if it promotes itself as an MMO, you do want to take into account the player base, you know, how popular it is now, its age, things like that. But I think people would be surprised at how well a lot of these ARPGs actually last through the years. Even Titan Quest, you know, is still going, you know, decently strong for how ancient of a game that is, and actually has had new content not too long ago added onto it. But anyways, Drakensang Online. This was one of the games that, now there actually is a Drakensang that you can buy on Steam. This is not it. Drakensang and Drakensang Online are different, so you want to go try the free-to-play Drakensang Online. Just saying. Anyways, this was one of the games where it's like, oh, we got the free-to-play Diablo. This was kind of this was kind of like the Path of Exile way back in the day. Drakensang Online is a little bit older, do keep that in mind, but this is kind of like a core on free-to-play online action RPG that just has fallen away from, you know, people talking about it, mainly because of its competitors. You know, and so many weird new ones, like, oh, we got Dark Souls, and Monster Hunter is so big right now. There's so many new crazy action RPGs out there that are really blowing everyone away. And then in the free-to-play space, we got like Warframe, and we got Path of Exile. So yeah, this one obviously is going to fall under, and it's just an older game period, but it's still, I think, most of action RPGs, especially isometric ones, they still hold up. So yes, please, peel some eyeballs on Drakensang Online. Number 3, and a huge one for me, is going to be Vindictus. This is a game that's touted as an MMO, and it is the farthest thing from an MMO I can think of. No anything that makes it an MMO whatsoever, other than the hub town, which I think is the worst aspect of this game. The transition from hub town, and then, oh my god, all the boring anime waifu talking and blah, 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 I don't care. And then getting into the bow, and then, you know, trying to get a party, and then getting into the dungeon, which you probably already beat before, and you're just kind of grinding up to get to the next one. Yeah, you know, it's very arbitrary. It's awkward and arduous, but getting into the dungeon, you know, fighting through the fluency of the combat, the ferocity of the combat, oh my god, and the aggression of the bosses is so freaking good. If you can get a friend and just one and done this, just run through the campaign of this game, it is so seriously sick. It might be one of the few games on this list that, despite the graphics not quite really holding up, because it tried to be a little bit more immersive back in the day, which then it stayed back in the day. It's always better to go with a cartoon aesthetic, debatable, but still, the gameplay speaks for itself. When you try it, it's one of the few grinding games where it really feels like you're grinding the enemies. Okay, and number 2 is going to be Spiral Knights. And if you want to fight me for putting certain games on this list, then fine, do it. Okay, but Spiral Knights, I get it. It has been popular in the past. It was very well known. It is a game that many people probably glance over often while navigating Steam. It's just kind of like one of those games. It was one of the OG games on Steam. I know it was one of the first games I ever downloaded back in the day, with the first one being Team Fortress 2, just like many of you. But Spiral Knights is really that fun for the entire family and fun for most people in general, ARPG fans or otherwise. This is the game that you can give to your son. This is a game that you could play as an adult with a bunch of other actual adults. You know, kids games aren't just for kids. And I would debate, you know, is this even a kid game? It's just a good, wholesome game overall. Of course, it's not going to have the ridiculousness of like these anime fighters. It's not going to have like the grim darkness of something like Diablo. Sure, but Spiral Knights is just such a core game. But in saying that, guys, it's a core game. So shouldn't we be finding games that we haven't heard of? The thing is actually maybe possible you haven't heard of this, because it has fallen away from the spotlight. It is an older game, and it is a game that a lot of people don't currently play now because they played it back in the past, you know, generations past, kind of, at least in gaming terms, and it's possible that you've missed this game, you know, but you can actually go and replay some of these games with some of your friends who have never played them, or you as a new player. I'm sure that there is still a hardcore community who would actually welcome you into their ranks just so you can experience this game, and that's why I'm making these videos in the first place. So hopefully you give this really cute ARPG a shot. Oh, and by the way, the new publishers of this game say they're kind of re-promoting it as an MMO. No, it's not. And finally, we're at number 1. Nope, can't resist. I gotta put Dragon Nest. I think if I were to try to look at this unbiasedly, this list might be a little bit different, but dude, Dragon Nest was just the coolest shit. Okay, I can't lie. I really enjoyed it, and I had such bias going into this. I remember watching like it was like MMO Hut, and they were doing a video like, you know, these MMOs, a lot of people, you know, in the West, they're not checking them out. Dragon Nest, you should be checking it out. Dude, Dragon Nest. As soon as I saw the video, I clicked on it, I downloaded it, I played it, and I was like, oh my god. No, it's not an MMO. It's a full instance, just like 4-player game. And I think some areas you can have like a 16-player raid or whatever, but whatever. I've gotten pretty high level to it. I've gotten up there just to the start of endgame for the most part. I haven't felt pay to win, but some people would say that the game does get pay to win. I don't know how the new publisher is handling that. Again, gotta revisit in 2020. Look at the Patreon if you guys want to support that endeavor. But yeah, Dragon Nest, dude, the combat is the best. The juggling, the physics, it really feels kind of like a Dynasty Warriors game, but with lots of different monsters that have their own different abilities. All the different classes actually have such a wide variety of combos that I don't even know how to keybind all of it on my keyboard. Like, it's so fun. You know, I played mostly the warrior a lot with the wind, you know, hurricane thing. You launch them in the air, you jump in the air, you're doing swings and swipes, and you're mostly like CC oriented, I think. And then I also play the Tinkerer, where I'm just constantly shelling out and I'm summoning, you know, friggin' Alfredo, the giant robot, and you're summoning like robot quackums and things like that to explode. So you're just throwing grenades and you're just a spam bot. It's crazy. And you're constantly flinging monsters around. You're constantly being flung around yourself and flying around the map. And yeah, there's some repetition with gameplay, but when you actually play on the highest difficulties, it's truly challenging. When you're running through the dungeons, and especially in the later dungeons, they get longer winded, the monsters actually become more involved. Again, kind of reminiscing, you know, to really good monster fights like you see in Monster Hunter or maybe Dark Souls. The fights actually become engrossing, and you will get downed, you will actually wipe, and it's, I don't know, it's really fun checking out the different talent trees. It's fun, I think, overall. The gear progression is pretty simplistic, but then also it's got some weird charm with the villages. Just to, you know, continuously talk about this game way longer than I need to, I kind of liked the questing. There's actually one, if you did this quest in the comments below and you remember it, please thumbs up and let me know. But there's one about a goblin grandfather and he wants to save his grandson. If you know that quest line, that shit will make you cry. Okay, if you can just speed read it and it'll like legit, it's good. Okay, so, oh, and also another point, just like Vindictus, the animations in this game, especially the monsters, are seriously next level, and more movies need to incorporate that style of animation. Just freaking good. Dragon Nest overlooked because of its art style, and it does look dated to an extent, but oh my god, I love Dragon Nest, and no one plays it. Okay, I think I got a little bit over passionate in that last one and maybe through a couple of these, but in the end, this is actually a genre that I don't play too much of because it tends to take a lot of time and effort. And even though I talk about MMOs so much, that's just over years and years of experience. So I do want to dive deeper into a lot of these games, especially action RPGs. Coming up, I plan to play Path of Exile December 13th, all the way to the new year to do a video. I got Monster Hunter with the Iceborne expansion on PC, and then of course Cyberpunk and many, many others. And I'm actually doing a review currently, I'm trying to, on the Outer Worlds, but I want to play more, I want to dive deeper, but I do need your help. If you want to support through the Patreon or just sharing the videos, I would appreciate it so much. YouTube is pretty poopy right now, but I still love YouTube because I love you guys. I love making these videos, and you know, having an excuse to play games and live my dream is pretty all right. But yeah, action RPGs, they're pretty cool stuffs. And I'm glad to play these co-op games with you guys if you would have me. So join us here. Skylent Games, subscribe and like and all the cool stuff, but keep the hype alive. I'll see you again next time.